Hi everyone, welcome back to Mind is Power podcast with your host, Medina Niobe. As you all know, this season is about moving on, healing, finding ourselves through that journey, and becoming the woman, man, whoever that we want to be through this journey. This season of my life has truly been an isolation season, and I feel like a lot of people are going through that season at the moment, and I'm not going to lie. I'm in the season that I prayed for, and now that I'm in it, it feels weird, but I know that once I get out of this season, I will be so strong. I'll have such an amazing mindset, and I will be ready, okay, to embrace a new relationship, friendship, whatever that looks like for me. And I know that I will have the peace of mind that I went through this bad time of, not even bad time, but I went through this isolation period to really understand myself, figure out what is it about me and why do I keep ending up in the same situation and they just look different. And so that's kind of what I'm going to talk about starting off, on recognizing patterns in which we find ourselves doing or taking place in, and understanding why those patterns are happening. And this is a little bit of a sore topic for me because this is something that I'm still struggling with, and in no way am I like, oh, I know what to do. Like, no, I'm struggling with it myself. And I say that because I'm in this season where I find myself finding distractions so that I don't have to deal with the heavy emotions that I know I need to heal from. And it's just prolonging my healing journey, and it's honestly not impacting me the best. And life is hard. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's easy and that things will come to you and your life will always be peaches and cream. But I think there are ways to make life just a little bit easier, and that's honestly choosing to be alone than in chaos. And that is something that I personally struggle with. And the reason why I struggle with that is because I am afraid of dealing with big emotions. I'm a feeler, and that comes with, that's like good and it's bad. But when I'm sad, I'm feeling it. When I'm happy, I'm feeling it. And when I'm angry, I'm feeling that emotion. And sometimes that can be overwhelming. Learning how to handle big emotions is something that takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of deep work in terms of looking on the inside, understanding what is triggering this response to this situation. And for me, one thing that I'm truly afraid of is not feeling like I'm lovable. And that is such a deep, complex statement, but it's such a real statement. And being afraid of finding someone who will love you with being you and not having to change yourself or lower your standards is hard. I am afraid that I will never find that. And that has put me in situations where I will settle for less because I think that I can mold this person into what I need. And that opened my eyes and showed me that this is not a season of my life where I need to be forcing relationships and forcing, you know, like the love of my life to just come out of nowhere. This is the season where I embrace the isolation period, where I'm not, you know, in a relationship, and making sure that I'm truly understanding what it is that I want. Finding out what are my non-negotiables. What is my stopping point? What are my boundaries? And I've been so hung up on the idea that I need someone to feel that void where I'm afraid of not having that comfortability within having someone else to rely on, where I've simply lost myself in that category, where I'm having to relearn what it is that Medina wants. What does Medina want versus what does society tell me that I need? And someone who feels so deeply, I notice that in all facets of my life, and I recognize how much it impacts me when I'm giving someone my all and I'm giving them the love languages that I know that they deserve and not getting that back, and then having to almost feel like I'm begging you to love me in the way that I deserve to be loved. And that is draining. But at the same time, I'm afraid to leave because I don't want to be alone, because being alone forces me to handle those big emotions in which I'm afraid of feeling. And I think that's the reason why I find myself in the same situations and I find the same patterns repeating itself. And they're repeating themselves because I'm so afraid to do the work, the individual work, that I'm allowing people to treat me any kind of way, when in reality, if I do the self-work and I unpack all of my traumas and realize, why am I allowing myself to be in these situations when I know what I want, when I know exactly what I deserve? Why am I still allowing myself to stay with this guy? Why am I allowing this person to have access to me and they're not even doing more than the bare minimum? They're barely doing the bare minimum. And it just goes back to being afraid of being in that isolation period and just being comfortable with yourself. And so I started doing this thing, well, I'm going to start doing this thing, where I take myself on solo dates. I buy myself flowers every 2 weeks. I give myself exactly what I look for in a guy, so that way when I come out of this isolation period, I'm no longer going to accept the bare minimum, because not only am I going to expect you to kind of do what I'm doing for myself already, I'm not going to stop doing those things for myself when I get into another relationship. I'm simply going to require more, because if I can do it for myself, yeah, if I can do it for myself, oh baby, I'm expecting you to do that plus more, especially if I can do the same thing for you. And don't let anyone think that that's bad. I've had so many conversations with people in my life who have simply told me, your standards are too high. Your expectations in a relationship are just too big. You're never going to find that. And you know who tell me that? You know, the people who tell me that are the men who just simply can't. Why am I going to allow, this is becoming like a motivational talk to myself, but why am I going to allow a man who simply can't make me feel like my standards are too high? Clearly I'm talking to the wrong guy. Simple. If you tell a guy what you are not going to settle for, matter of fact, if you have to tell a guy your wants and your needs in the beginning, that's not your guy, because the right guy will already know what to do. And I'm not saying expect a partner who's perfect and who will have everything figured out. That is unrealistic and that's not going to happen. But you shouldn't have to teach a guy to buy you flowers. You shouldn't have to teach a guy to take you on a date. You shouldn't have to teach a guy to text you. Those are things that will come with a man who is recognizing and understanding your worth and your value. And if you have to teach a man your value, you're simply talking to the wrong man. Period. Period. That's the statement. If you have to write paragraphs on what you deserve and what you require, that's not your man. Period. I think sometimes we get so confused on, well, I don't want to just like leave and give up on him like she's trying. There's certain things that you shouldn't have to teach someone to do. He might not be the most romantic. You don't have to be the most romantic. But when a man sees a woman that he wants and he wants to pursue her and he sees something serious with her, oh girl, you're not going to have to ask for anything. He's already going to come with it. Because his biggest fear is simply losing you. You know why? Because he sees your worth and your value. So why settle for a man who doesn't see your worth and value? And it goes back to the saying, I'd rather be alone with high standards than stay with the man who makes me lower my standards and then feel bad when I want more. Simply because he just can't do it. What? And it's frustrating that as you grow and you evolve into the woman that you want to be, and I'm speaking to all, I'm just speaking from the woman perspective. I don't really know the male perspective in the sense of how women treat them. Like, I can only speak from my perspective. So I want to be more inclusive and say, like, and for the guys out there, like, you know, but like, I'll make a separate video for y'all. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Sorry, I get distracted, guys. It simply goes, wait, I forgot what I was saying. It simply goes back to, if I have to coach and teach you how to be a gentleman, how to open my door, how to go on the sidewalk, I'd rather be single. I'd rather just leave me alone. And it's frustrating because as you grow and evolve and become the woman that you're meant to be and put that love and energy in yourself, your standards are going to have no choice but to increase. Because once you start loving yourself the way that you want to be loved, you can't settle for a man who's going to love you less than you. Like, let me give you an example. So one thing I've been doing is staying in the gym, being consistent. Because if I can't be consistent with myself, how can I expect someone else to be consistent with me? And that's something that I wasn't doing when I was afraid of being in my isolation period. Or season, in other words. And there's nothing wrong with simply stepping back from the dating scene and the courting scene or whatever to simply just focus on you and give yourself what you would want someone else to give you. And not just doing it for that reason, but just loving yourself. And loving yourself isn't a feeling. Loving yourself is an action. I can say I love myself, but still not show up for myself. Do I really love myself? Am I really giving myself the energy and the effort that I deserve? Or am I simply just staying comfortable in the situation that I'm in because it's comfortable? I'm angry here, but it's comfortable, so I'm not going to leave. I'm sad, I'm depressed, but I'm not going to leave because I'm afraid of what a future looks like in something else. I'm afraid of the unknown. I'm afraid of what my life will look like 5 months from now if I stand on business, if I stay true to putting all this effort into me. Will I find a guy? Like those are valid reasons. Those are valid feelings, and don't allow anyone to make you feel like you can't feel those feelings. But through it all, this season of my life is truly shaping me into the woman that this season of my life, I am not only training myself on what not to settle for, but I'm preparing myself to have the ability to simply just walk away from a guy the moment he does anything that is not up to par with my standards. I can work all day long on communication, on certain things like that, but in terms of standards, ladies, like your standard, the list you write in your notes app of things I require, things my dream husband will do. The moment this guy does not fulfill that list, simply leave. Because you know who will fulfill that list? The man who notices your value, the man who notices your worth, the man who notices that you are worth putting in the effort for, because he simply just cannot lose you. And when you change your perspective into, I'm not going to settle, that's just not an option for me, that is when you will find the person who will love you the way that you want to be loved. Then you will find the person who will shift your mindset from saying, why am I unlovable, to, wow, I never knew someone could love me this much. And it really just starts from within. So take that season of isolation and really focus on loving yourself, showing up for yourself, figuring out what is it that you want in a partner, and do it for yourself. And once you master that, then worry about a guy to fulfill, your relationship needs. But if you yourself know you want to be loved, but you're not sure how you want to be loved, you're going to always find yourself in situations where you're constantly settling, because you're not truly sure on what it is that you want. And that is something that I'm struggling with. Yes, I have a standards list, but it's deeper than the standards list. How do I want to be talked to? Oh, you want to be talked to in a calm way? Okay, but what do you mean by that? Do I want someone who listens and like bounces back on ideas to solve it? Do I want someone who will give me like, what do I want? Yes, I want a guy who takes me on dates, but what type of dates? Do I want the guy who does the spontaneous dates? Do I want the guy who plans the dates and sends me the text and says, hey, be ready at this time? Like, what is it that I want? I take that list and I do it for myself. Do it for myself. And then subconsciously, that's all I'm going to know. And I'm not going to go back to the version of myself who settled for the mediocrity of the guy who simply just can't. Because why would I do that? Why would I do that if I'm already giving myself exactly what I deserve? This episode is getting a little bit passionate because I am simply, it's healing, because I'm in that season of my life where I think what's best for me is isolation from relationships. Anything outside of me, school, God. Sorry, let me fix that order. Anything outside of God, me, and school, I don't have the room or the capacity to handle anything else at the moment. I am unavailable. When God sends me that message, or when he gives me that confirmation that I am ready to go back in this wild world of dating and X, Y, and Z, then I will go back. But until I get that message from him, I am staying put. I am focusing on me, him, school. Period. Oh, and my girls. That is it. Simple. So when I do get ready to go back out there and figure out what it is I want in a guy, I'm not settling. You know why? Because I am going to give myself what I deserve myself. I'm going to give myself what I deserve myself. That way I'm not going to settle for a man who can't do that. Because you know why? Like I keep saying this. You know why? Because why? Like, that's the answer. Why? Why settle? Why settle? There's no point in settling. If I can do it myself, there's no point in settling for a man who can't even, like, you can't even pick up where I left off. Bye. Not doing that. Like, no. And for all my girls out there, it's a hard journey. And there's a lot of tears that come along. I was literally crying about it yesterday because it's just, what more do I need to do for a guy to realize my worth and give me what I'm deserved? It has nothing to do with you, baby girl. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. The moment it has anything to do with you is the moment you lower your standards. The moment you lower your standards, yeah, that is when you're going to be met with mediocrity. And yes, that is when you're going to be met with the men who just simply can't. You know why? Because they're looking at you and they're saying, oh, well, she clearly doesn't care. Like, I don't have to do as much. She's still here. And you never want a man to think that of you. Honestly, it's deeper than a guy. Friendship, like whatever. You never want someone to know that you're not going to leave, because then they're simply going to treat you bad. They're simply going to give you mediocrity. I feel like I'm messing up that word, and that's okay. For my girls out there, please correct me in the comments. But once you show a man that you're gone the moment he doesn't uphold your standards, and watch how he behaves himself. And it's deeper than that. Show a man you're gone once he doesn't uphold your standards. Don't go back and find someone who will. Not only did you just show this person, don't play with me. I'm never going to settle. Let's get back serious. I'm never going to settle. I will never accept the bare minimum. I will never accept below the bare minimum. If you are not bringing an addition to my life, if you are not adding value to my life, what are you here for? My mom told me this really good, like my mom recently told me something, and it's really sat with me. She said, a man looking good, a man having money, a man being tall, fit, brings no value to your life. That brings no value to your life. If anything, that brings infatuation. Infatuation doesn't last long once you're met with the hard times of a relationship. Find the guy who brings value to your life. Find the guy where if you guys were to break up tomorrow, you would notice in so many areas of your life that he was an addition to. Find that guy. Find that guy where you would notice if he were gone. Simple. Not the guy, oh, we broke up, so I don't have anyone to text. That doesn't bring any value to your life, babe. That brings attachment. Yeah. Find the guy who supports you. Find the guy who is kind, who is generous. A man can be ambitious but not generous. Find the man who's selfless. Find the man where you know no matter what, he's going to show up for you. Find the man who would wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning because you have an important meeting at 7, and he is waking up super early just to send you a paragraph and say good luck. Find the man who will pray over you, for you, with you. Find the man who worships you. And simply find that man. If you're religious, find that man of God. And if you're not, find that man who respects you. Find that man who simply makes you feel like you're the only girl in the world. And until you find that man, stay single. Stay in your isolation season. There is no point in getting out of your peaceful nest, to go to a guy who's going to bring you chaos. And sometimes we rather the chaos because that's all we're used to. But I promise you, once you stop settling for less, you will stop being met with chaos. You will be met with peace. Because your standards are what makes you happy. Your standards are what brings you peace. So when you stop having to settle, you will be met with that. Simple. And I know you can do it, and this is something that we're doing together. We are learning together, girls, and we got this. We can do this. Like, we can do this. And you have to love yourself more than you love any relationship. You have to love God most and foremost. And through that, you will love yourself too much to stay with a guy who is simply not enough. And once you truly understand what that means, where there is no other option, there's no other option but to meet my standards, you will find so much peace and happiness within that, because there's no longer a need to settle. Because there's no choice, there's no option to settle. Settling is no longer in the, like, that's no longer in your mind. Settled, bye. But you have to get comfortable in your isolation season to have the strength and to have the wisdom to walk away quick the moment someone doesn't uphold that standard in which you have placed for yourself. Simple. And that's that. That's just simple. Simple. I don't know why I said that like it was a question, but that's simple. It's just that simple. And it's not easy. It's going to be hard because you're unlearning what you're accustomed to, but you can do it. And I believe in you, and I know that we can do it. I know that you can do it, and you'll come out so strong, and you'll be a woman that is just, you will only attract the man who will give you exactly what you deserve and what you need. The moment you put all that energy and you become the woman that you deserve. I'm gonna get serious. You will stop attracting these low vibrational men the moment you become the high vibrational woman, because you are going to scare these men away, and the only man that will want to even come in your circle will be that high vibrational man, because he will know, oh, she doesn't play games. She knows exactly what she wants and what she needs. That's man friendship, whatever, like whatever. And once you understand that, the situations that brought no value to your life, forget you. Like, what are you? You brought me headache. That's the value you brought to my life. You brought me headache. Okay, let me go find a man who will not bring me a headache. Let me find the man who will soothe my headache. All right, y'all, but that was it for this episode. Simply, I think I'm gonna title this episode, I think you guys just helped me find the title of this episode, which is choosing peace over chaos. And that's what this is about, choosing peace over chaos. And I want you guys this week to just reflect on that and incorporate the things that I talked about in your journey of healing and moving on and self-growth. And I want to hear about your experiences with it. I want to hear how it goes. So please feel free to let me know how you feel about this episode in the comments down below. Let's talk about it. Let's be about it. Let's stay true to ourselves and let's be happy. Period. Let's be happy. I'll see you guys next week. I love you guys. This was so fun filming, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Medina Nayobi, the host of Mind is Power podcast, is out. Mwah. Bye.